2019 Midlands just came to a close, and I did a video that was recapping all the weight classes for that. This particular video is going to be recapping it for specifically the Iowa Hawkeyes. So what I'm going to do is I'll just run through the results for everyone from Iowa who was in this tournament, and then go through a bunch of images from their matches. So here you see a still from the Gross DeSanto match. I'll get back to that, but right now just going from 125 all the way up to 285. The Hawkeyes had Spencer Lee, who was the number one seed in the bracket, won his first three matches, 2 pins and a tech fall. But then Sunday came around, and I don't know what the issue was, but he had a medical forfeit for the entire day, so that dropped him all the way down to 6. Aaron Cashman was the other Hawkeye, but he went 0-2 and did not place. At 133, Austin DeSanto, as seen here, made it to the finals, ended up losing to Seth Gross in a close 6-5 match. So he placed second. Gavin Teasdale went 2-2, did not place. Paul Glenn also went 2-2, did not place. At 141, Max Murin won the entire thing. Carter Happel went 2-2, and Justin Stickley also went 2-2. Happel and Stickley, neither of them placed. At 149, Jaron Glosser ended up placing 6th, medical forfeit in the 5th place match. Vince Turk placed 4th, medical forfeit in the 3rd place match. And then Pat Lugo won the whole thing, beating Austin O'Connor in the finals. At 157, Caleb Young was the only Hawkeye in that bracket. He ended up winning the entire thing. Alex Marinelli, same thing. Ends up winning the entire bracket at 165. Jeremiah Moody was also in that bracket, went 1-2 and did not place. At 174, there were no Hawkeyes. Michael Kemmerer was sick and was not able to compete this week. And with it being on such short notice, I guess they didn't feel the need to drop Nelson Brands down. Not that that would make sense for them anyway, because for them, this tournament was going to tell them a lot about 184. And Nelson Brands had a real shot at earning a spot on the roster at 184, really locking that spot up. But for 174, there was nothing that happened. As for 184, Nelson Brands went 2-2 and did not place. The loss that he had in the back draw was to Cash Wilkie. So Wilkie, after losing to Johnny Sebastian in the main draw, ended up just winning every single match after that and went all the way into 3rd place. And Abe Assad had a really strong run, made it all the way to the finals before losing to Taylor Luan. At 197, Jacob Warner looked as though he was about to make it into the finals, but ended up losing to J.I.L.O. So he goes to the back draw and ends up facing Pat Brucky in a rematch from a recent duel in Princeton. And unlike that duel where Warner was able to get the win in this match, Brucky just absolutely dominated Warner. I believe either 3 takedowns to 0 or 4 takedowns to 0. So Warner ends up finishing 4th here, heading in as the number 1 seed in the tournament and also number 2 overall in the country. So he's obviously going to be dropping off a little bit from there. They also had Connor Corbin, who went 1-2 and did not place, and Zach Glazier, who went 1-2 and did not place, although he gave Brucky a rough time in their main draw match. And then at heavyweight, Anthony Cassiope ended up winning the entire thing, and Aaron Costello went 3-2 but did not place. So this is from Seth Gross's match, or Arsene DeSanto's match with Seth Gross. Gross caught him with a takedown early and then was able to cradle him. DeSanto was able to get out, so he only gave up 2 on that near fall. So then they keep going from there. As the match went on, DeSanto started to gain some momentum, got a late takedown, needed another one to either take the lead or to win it. And unfortunately for him, Gross was able to defend just long enough. Here you can see how close DeSanto was to getting that last second takedown and stealing the win, but wasn't quite there. Max Murin at 141 had Josh Heil close 2-2 match in the 3rd period. Murin shoots in here, is able to get a quick takedown, and that for him was enough to get the win. Heil was able to get up, but Murin also had the riding time point as well that he had locked up, but Murin was able to defend there. Pat Lugo against Austin O'Connor. O'Connor was down 5-3. Lugo was just a second shy of the riding time point. Looks for a pass by. Lugo gets his own, though, gets behind him, takes him down, wins the whole thing. Caleb Young and Hartman from Army. That was the final at 157. Also have some pictures of the semifinal as well. But he was in overtime here, ends up shooting it and gets in on that single. Comes up the back door, gets the win there. Marinelli got a couple early takedowns against McFadden. That was enough for him to get the win. So here was tied 2-2. Gets another takedown. Makes it 4-2. He also got an escape in the final period and kind of just kept him off him for the most part. Was able to hold on and get the win. At 184, Abe Assad looked like he was doing all right here. It looked like he was in on a decent shot against Luan. But Luan defended well, ends up passing a leg over, coming out on top, gets the 2. And then from there, Luan just rode him out, and Assad just wasn't able to get close to taking him down. At 285 in the finals, Anthony Cassiope here against Stencil. After Stencil went for a shot, Cassiope defends, looks to come around the back, comes up on a single leg, looks for the treetop finish, eventually gets it. So that was enough for him to get the win. Here's from Spencer Lee, his last match of the tournament, which was his quarterfinal win. Nearly gets a pin here right off of a reversal at the start of the second period. So not even a takedown there, it's just off of a reversal where he had started down. Apparently, ref hadn't seen enough there to call the pin. Not that Iowa needed it; they easily won this tournament, but just enough there, and he gets the tech fall. Gavin Teasdale, his best match of the tournament was this match with Caleb Gross, where he won it by a score, I believe, of 15-8. So here's a late takedown from him, and here he was looking for a major, but unfortunately wasn't able to get it. Even though at this point, had he just hung on and continued to ride, he would have gotten it. Gross eventually gets away. But Teasdale still gets the win. Carter Happel had a match with Josh Heil, who was the finalist here. It was tied 1-1 heading into overtime. Happel kind of shot in a little bit haphazardly, and then Heil was able to come around the back and get the 2 here. So kind of an unfortunate ending for Carter Happel, going up against a guy who's ranked, a guy who it definitely would have been good for him to get a win over, and just didn't look all that great in overtime. Vince Turk, though, on the other hand, had a really good overtime match against Caden Storr, where he gets a late takedown here. Unfortunately, it was towards the end, so the view was sort of blocked on the double leg. But he does get it. They confirm Vince Turk gets the win. Austin O'Connor and Jaron Glosser. Glosser looked as though he was in position to knock off the number 1 guy in the country. Glosser at times has looked really good. I think last year against Ryan Deacon, he had some moments where it looked like he might have been able to pull off a win against Deacon, but then Deacon came on strong at the end. Here, there's a stalling point given away by Glosser, which, again, that's fine given the score and given the time. You just have to make sure you don't get taken down. But here, sort of like a shot that wasn't terribly well set up, and it looks as though you would expect Glosser to be able to sprawl out of this and be able to avoid the takedown, but unfortunately for him, didn't really do a great job on the sprawl here. O'Connor gets in, finishes a double leg, and then even still, with that being said, O'Connor's going to get the 2 and he'll be up a point. But Glosser still has 12 seconds left where if he gets back to his feet, at least he gives himself another shot in overtime, and he kind of seemed dejected here and really didn't try to get back up to his feet. So he ends up taking the loss here. It was a really good semifinal match between Kendall Coleman and Caleb Young. So Young's in on a deep shot here. Coleman starts to get close to taking his back, but then ends up falling down. And as a result, Young comes out on top, ends up winning the scramble, and eventually gets a pin where it was effectively 2 points for the takedown, but Coleman just kind of laid on his back, so it was technically a pin, but it's not as though Coleman was having his shoulders forced into the mat. It was more so just he knew the match was already over. He knew he already lost, and so it officially goes down as a pin. We have Nelson Brands losing his main draw match to Braunagel of Illinois. Braunagel faced all 3 of the Iowa 184-pounders, but in this match we had a tie score 1-1. Nelson really wasn't all that close to scoring any takedowns here. About 20 seconds left. Braunagel gets it on a shot. Brands tries to flee to escape, and eventually Braunagel is able to finish here. So Braunagel gets the win. Here, on the other hand, you have Abe Assad going against Braunagel in the semifinals. This could have been a Nelson Brands versus Abe Assad match, but unfortunately, Nelson Brands didn't get this far. But Assad throws him with a headlock and stays on top and eventually gets the pin here. And then Cash Wilkie on the back draw ends up facing Nelson Brands. And this match pretty much, I would think at this point, is going to determine who's going to earn that spot at 184 for the rest of the season. They go to overtime and go all the way through to one period. So these 2 points were both escape points. So it was an escape in regulation and then an escape in sudden victory, or in the first overtime period. So second overtime period starts. You have a misdirection single here from Cash Wilkie. He's able to keep fighting through, continues to come up, works his way through the legs, and eventually ends up on top, gets his 2 points, and gets the win. And after getting this win, as I mentioned before, he won every other match he had, including this match with Braunagel again. Was already up a takedown on Braunagel in the third, but comes in, gets another takedown, puts him down here. So for Cash Wilkie, I think it's pretty safe to say at this point he's got the spot at 184. Now, granted, if he has some bad performances like he's had in the past with Johnny Sebastian, maybe Nelson Brands gets another look, but that was very important for Cash Wilkie in his senior year to take a spot back, a spot that at a time was taken by a guy who probably could be at 165 right now, but definitely 174. Jacob Warner, here he was with Aiello, down 7-6, but he had the riding time. So again, if he gets up, then it's 7-7, but he has the riding time, so he needs to be urgent here. Really didn't get the urgency out of him though, so ends up going 7-7. You kind of have like this really lame fireman's carry attempt here, unsuccessful, and then Aiello was able to wrestle his way on top, get the takedown, and end up winning here. And then against Brucky, he was just getting beaten down and just didn't look very good. So Warner, not the best performance.